What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Lex Alexis. Today it is the FA Cup score prediction special, round 3 of the FA Cup. We've got 19 games that involve a championship club that we've got to predict. Now, these predictions will not count towards the Lex Alexis Football Prediction League. This video is for a little bit of fun, you know, just for everyone just to have a little bit of a carefree predictions video and can predict any weird and wacky results, which I'll be very excited to see all of you predicting. Now, obviously, two parts of this video. First part will be all the FA Cup games with championship teams. The second part will be me predicting the FA Cup games without the championship teams. If you guys like what we see, please do give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Let's aim for 15 likes in this video. That would be appreciative. Please also hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help the channel. We're really making a big push to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting ever closer now, so if we can get there, it'll be absolutely amazing. And please share the channel to as many people as you can. That is how we're going to grow as a community. That will be appreciative. But without any further ado, let's start predicting the FA Cup round 3. So the first game of the FA Cup that involves a championship club is Mansfield against Middlesbrough tomorrow at midday. Mansfield at the moment are currently flying a little bit high in League 2. Had a really tricky start with Nigel Clough, but actually their form has really recovered their season and they're only a couple of places outside of the playoff places. Middlesbrough, of course, have really improved their season as well, recently picking up the Manager of the Month award with Chris Wilder. So Middlesbrough are really running high with a lot of confidence. Now, Mansfield got to the position of the third round by beating Doncaster Rovers from the league above 3-2. So maybe we could get a load of goals in this game, and I really hope we get a good competitive game. However, I think the experience from Middlesbrough, I think, will show through. Despite a load of changes which I expect, especially from Middlesbrough squad, I think they'll do enough. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory for Middlesbrough. FIFA22 is going to agree with me. Next game to predict is Bristol City versus Fulham. It's an all-championship tie, and both of these sides have already played against each other in Ashton Gate this season. It was around October-November time where it was a 1-1 draw in the last meeting. Mitrovic took the lead for Fulham and hit the woodwork twice. He was so unlucky not to get another goal, but Casey Palmer, with a really calm, composed goal, got a really much-needed equaliser for Bristol City, which was a time when they were starting to try and pick up some points at home. And I think this game is going to be interesting. It could be a great equaliser. Fulham being away, obviously, with having a lot of COVID in their squad. Bristol City responded in a big way, beating Mill by 3-2 last weekend. But in this meeting, maybe both sides will put some changes down, I think, especially for Fulham. I might just edge Fulham. I think they still have the firepower to go through. I think the depth is going to show through. So as a prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Fulham. FIFA is predicting 1-0 to Fulham. Next up, we've got Burnley versus Huddersfield. It's our first FA Cup game we're predicting involving a Premier League side. Burnley would love to get a win right now. They've only won once in the Premier League. In fact, they've won more cup games than they have done in league games all season, which just goes to show how poor they have been in the Premier League. They're currently 19th place in the table at the moment. They do have games in hand with the teams around them, but it still does not look good that Burnley are going to survive in the season. They play a Huddersfield side which are high flying in this season. You know, we've seen a little bit of inconsistency, but recently they've picked up their form a little bit. They managed to pick up 3 wins, 2 draws in their last 5 games, and they've really earned their place in the top 6 at the moment. Now, as a prediction, this definitely is on the hands of a shock. I definitely want to predict some shocks this weekend, but I just have that feeling that Burnley will still win. Despite missing Maxwell Cornet, I think they'll still get a result. As a prediction, I'm going to go for 1-0 Burnley. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. FIFA is going the other way around and predicting 1-0 to Huddersfield, which will be an unbelievable result. Next up is Coventry versus Derby. Now, they both met very recently as well. It was 1-1 at the Coventry City Stadium last time they faced each other. Now, I remember Matt Golden got a penalty, but very controversially. It was a little bit of a simulation when how Coventry won their penalty, but Derby more than earned their equaliser from Colin Kazim-Richards, and I think we're a little bit unlucky not to get anything more from this game. Coventry recently, their form has slumped a little bit. They have had a big break, of course, with COVID in their squad and having games postponed. Now, Derby, of course, picking up their form a little bit. They managed to pick up 3 wins in a row and are actually unbeaten in their last 4 games, picking up 10 points in their last 4 games. Now, as a prediction, it's tricky. I think Derby will prioritise surviving in the season. But having said that, they definitely want to have this mentality that they can beat anyone. So as a prediction, I might go for a Derby 1-0 win. I don't think there'll be many goals in this game. FIFA 22 has predicted 0-0 at full time, with Coventry to win 6-5 on penalties. That'll be an unbelievable result. Next up, we've got Hartlepool versus Blackpool. It's the battle of the pools. Now, Hartlepool managed to get to where they are after they won the first round 1-0 against Lincoln City. That's a brilliant result for Hartlepool, and they've done recently. They managed to beat League One Bolton in an EFL trophy recently. So Hartlepool gained some good results against teams above them in leagues above where they are at the moment. They've faced Blackpool, where their form has been a little bit up and down. I wouldn't say their performances have matched the start of the season. I think they are having a bit of a hangover based on what they've had at the start of the season. So I do think it's a good equaliser for this game. As a prediction, I still think Blackpool might have enough here. I think to try and compete for 2 leagues above, I think might be a step too far for Hartlepool. They have had a difficult form recently, and following that, their manager has been changed halfway through the season as well. I think they've coped quite well with it, but as a prediction, I still think Blackpool will get enough. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Blackpool. FIFA is predicting 1-1 after extra time and Blackpool to win 3-2 on pens. Unbelievable. Next up is Millwall versus Crystal Palace. It's a London derby. Now, Millwall are a notorious cup killer, so I think this is going to be a really, really good game. Now, both teams actually have got some players out and some key players out. I think Millwall's going to have Jed Wallace missing in this game. Crystal Palace, they've got Zaha, Schlupp, Kouyaté and Ayew gone to AFCON. So I think this is a really good even match that we've got now on our hands. Now, Palace obviously been doing okay this season, around mid-table. Millwall around mid-table as well. So I think it's a good equalising game. As a prediction, I have a feeling with Millwall, the atmosphere they've got, I definitely think they'll force this to extra time. Remember, in this FA Cup, we do not have replays at the moment. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to edge Millwall to win 2-1 at extra time. I want to see the scenes of Millwall going absolutely crazy. I mean, FIFA 22's predicted a similar game with drama, 2-2 after extra time, and Millwall to win 6-5 on pens. Unbelievable. Next up, we've got Barnsley versus Barrow. Both teams in the lower part of their table in their respective leagues. Barnsley, of course, they are 23rd place, second for bottom in the Championship, and their form has been really, really poor all season, to be honest with you. They picked up the less wins out of all of the Championship sides. Barrow, recently they've slumped their form a little bit. They had an alright start to the season when they were a little bit competitive in the middle part of the table, but they've fallen down quite a fair bit with 4 defeats in the last 6 games. Now, Barrow, to get to where they were, they had to beat Ipswich after 2 games, which I think is unbelievable for Barrow to get this far. As a prediction, though, I think Barnsley might look at this game to try and get a response, but I don't think it'll be comfortable. I'm going to say 1-0 to Barnsley, and FIFA is going to agree with me. Next up is Kidderminster Harriers versus Reading. Now, some of these games, obviously, we cannot simulate in FIFA. Kidderminster Harriers is not in FIFA 22, as they are a team in the National League North, the 6th step of English football. They face Reading. Now, they are the lowest ranked side left in the FA Cup. Now, they're currently 5th, Kidderminster Harriers, in their National League North, and actually have had a brilliant run of form. 5 consecutive wins before they recently drew their recent game. Reading at the moment, obviously, they're probably not going to feel completely sharp. They had a big period of absence, obviously, due to COVID-19, and obviously, in their recent game, they didn't pick up a fantastic result. But having said that, Reading really should be looking for at least a win, or at least to smash Kidderminster Harriers. It will be seemed a little bit as a failure if they can't do that. They are leagues above, you know, where Harriers are. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a crazy skull frenzy game. I'm going to go 5-2 Reading. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, we've got Peterborough versus Bristol Rovers. Peterborough obviously still in the bottom 3 in the Championship. I think they'll be wanting to get a good cup run just to improve their confidence for this season. They face a Bristol Rovers side where their form against them is not entirely impressive. A lot of the results against Bristol Rovers are actually draws. Now, Bristol Rovers are currently in League 2 at the moment. They had to beat Sutton and they had to get a brilliant victory over Oxford to get to this stage of the competition. I think at the moment, based on the squad we've got with Peterborough, they've made some signings recently, I think Peterborough should be able to get this one over the line. I can see Peterborough taking this competition as a way to try and uplift their confidence. So as a prediction, I'm going to go 3-1 Peterborough, and FIFA is going for a 1-0 win to Peterborough. Next up is QPR versus Rotherham. Now, I think this is going to be a really, really good game because Rotherham actually got a really strong record against QPR actually. But both are doing very well in their respective leagues. QPR in the top 6 and looking very, very favourable to finish in those top 6 places as it stands based on their really good form. Rotherham are currently top of their league in League 1 at the moment. And I think what's really set them apart is that a lot of their players are championship worthy and quality players. Now, the interesting thing, I don't think they're going to have Freddie Ladapo. Freddie Ladapo has been linked with a move away and has handed a transfer request. So I would be interested to see the developments of that. As a prediction, I can see Rotherham really giving QPR a game. I think this would be really tight. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And I'm actually going to say this game goes to pens. I'm going to say QPR win 4-2 on pens. That's what I think will happen. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, we've got West Brom versus Brighton. So another Championship club against a Premier League club. West Brom, obviously with their recent form, have just not been encouraging, haven't they? They had a really good start to the season. They've been right up there in the table, and then they've been dropping so many meaningless points recently. You know, their 0-0 draw against Barnsley, for instance, was a really, really bad result. Their 1-1 draw against Cardiff. It just shows to me that they can create chances. They're a creative team, but they're just not clinical. And that's going to be very problem when you face a Brighton side. Similarly, have problems of being clinical in front of goal. But this season, they're actually outperforming their XG, which goes to show that Brighton have improved at being clinical in front of goal and taking their chances, which has been the biggest curse that Brighton have had since they've been in the Premier League. So with this game, I think despite having Basuma out to AFCON, West Brom do have some absentees in South. Johnston and Mowat are going to be ruled out due to a suspension. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Brighton. FIFA has predicted 0-0 and Brighton to win 3-1 on penalties. Next up is Wigan versus Blackburn. Now, I believe it's a little bit of a local derby between these two sides, so I'm really intrigued to see the atmosphere of this game. I think it'll be very, very tight. It's second place of League 1 versus second place of the Championship, which I think will be a really, really good competition. Now, Wigan got to this stage by beating my team Colchester by 2-1. Callum Lang sent them there despite Freddie Sears doing all he can to get Colchester to the third round for the first time in over 10 years. Blackburn will be a favourite, I think, but having said that, I do think they will be prioritising their League form. They got to look at their league form at the moment and got to say, you know what, this doesn't happen often, and I think we're going to prioritise that. So I'll be very interested to see what sort of team Mowbray puts out there. But if you undermine Wigan, they'll punish you, and we've seen it so many times that Wigan have been able to punish teams so easily. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a shock. I'm going to go for a Wigan 2-1 win. I think Wigan have got the capability, and FIFA is actually going to agree with me. Next up is Birmingham versus Plymouth. Now, I think also this is a chance for a potential upset as well. We've got Birmingham, a team at the moment in the Championship, which have been in 18th place, kind of lingering down there a little bit. Don't look like they're going down, but a bit of an underwhelming season based on the standards and the excitement that they had with the signings that they've got in. They have been very unlucky with injuries though, which I would give them that. I'll be very interested to see if the likes of Ted and Mengi will make his debut for Birmingham. As with Plymouth, they have been a really good breath of fresh air in League 1 this season. They've been one of the surprise teams this season. They're still in the top 6, but they're just about holding on to that top 6 place. But I can see Plymouth really taking this competition seriously, and I definitely think they definitely want to be flexing their muscles and trying to play as many tough teams possible. So I think Plymouth will actually have a real good go of this. As a prediction, I'm going for a 2-0 away win to Plymouth. I actually think Plymouth will actually have a really good game here. Now, FIFA's predicting 2-1 to Plymouth, which I think is a very interesting result. Next up is Hull City versus Everton. I think this is going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, Hull at the moment, a little bit similar position-wise in terms of Birmingham. However, they've got entirely different expectations, which is to stay in the Championship. They have done that so far, but their form recently has dropped down a little bit, which I'll be a bit gutted about. Everton have got their own issues, their own doubts of Rafa Benitez. It looks like Lucas Digne would not be available in this game amidst the interest he's got from the likes of Newcastle and Chelsea. So both clubs in a little bit of turmoil in their own unique way. So I'll be interested to see how each team performs. As a prediction, I think it's going to be a 2-1 Everton win. I think it'll be a very, very tight game. FIFA 22 has predicted 4-2 to Everton after extra time, which is interesting. Next up is Swansea versus Southampton. I think this is a really good game. You know, this would have been a typical fixture in the Premier League a couple seasons ago, and now it's a rare fixture we see in the FA Cup these days. Now, I think Swansea, with the way they play, it'll be very interesting to see how they merge with Southampton's way of playing, because Southampton can sit back, but they are very versatile the way they play. I think tactically they are quite an underrated team in the Premier League, so I'll be very interested to see what Ralph Hasenhüttl does with this side. As a prediction, and based on the quality that they've got, obviously Southampton got some players out due to AFCON, of course. I think this will be a 1-1 draw, and I'm also going to predict penalties, and I'm going to go for Southampton to win 3-1 on penalties, I think. FIFA has gone for Swansea to win by 1-0. Next up, which is the final game on the Saturday, it's Yeovil versus Bournemouth. This is another game that we're not going to have FIFA's predictions for. So Yeovil are currently in the National League at the moment in a mid-table position. I think their expectation, you know, would have been to try and push for those playoff places, which they have not done so. But having said that, there is a lot of the season left. There's a lot of games in hand that a lot of these teams have. So I think Yeovil can still have a chance to redeem their season a little bit, obviously being a team that have been recently relegated from League 2. They face a Bournemouth side though who are top of the championship and would definitely not be an easy side to play against, and I think as a prediction I'm going to go for a 4-0 away win to Bournemouth. I mean, Yeovil's competition to get here was Yate Town in the Southern Premier Division and League 2 Stevenage, which they deserve credit for, but Bournemouth is a different kettle of fish, so I will say 4-0 to Bournemouth. Let me know what you think. Now to Sunday's games, we see Luton Town going up against Harrogate. Now this is Harrogate's first time in the third round of the FA Cup by beating Portsmouth by 2-1. Jack Diamond getting a very late goal in that game, and you're going to give Simon Reaver a load of credit here for taking his Harrogate side into new heights. Luton, however, I think will be a really tough team for them to play up against. Luton, I think, are a team that can take cup competition seriously, and I think their squad depth, I think, does shine above Harrogate. So as a prediction, I think Luton will win. I'm going to say 3-1 to Luton. FIFA's going 2-1 to Luton. Next prediction is Cardiff versus Preston, another all-championship tie. Now, they've recently played each other in November, but it was at Deepdale, and Cardiff had a second half comeback. So it was a real twisting game. Now, Preston would not want to repeat last time of what happened in the Cardiff City Stadium. They lost 4-0 to Cardiff, and it was not long after that game when Alex Neil was sacked as Preston manager. So they definitely don't want to repeat of that sort of result. I think Cardiff are still stuttering their form a little bit. They've got potential still, and Aidan Flint being available I think is a really good plus for them. Now, Preston, obviously, they've improved under Ryan Lowe, and I'll be intrigued to see how they get around in his performance. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Preston. I think it's going to be a really low scoring game, but I think Preston under Ryan Lowe look a different kettle of fish. I'm going to go for 1-0. FIFA's predicting 2-2 and Preston to win 3-2 on penalties. Next up is Stoke versus Leyton Orient. So to go through this game, I think Stoke, their form has really been struggling a little bit, but so has Leyton Orient. Both have lost 4 games in their last 6 in all competitions. So Stoke and Leyton Orient could really use this game to try and lift up their season a little bit. Stoke want to be getting to the top 6. Same with Leyton Orient with their seasons. Both teams will be wanting to get the playoffs in their leagues based on their expectations. So Leyton Orient got here by beating Tranmere by 4-0, but I think Stoke will be tricky. I think as a prediction, I think Stoke will be okay with this. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Stoke. FIFA's predicting 1-1 and Leyton Orient to win 3-1 on pens, which will be amazing if that happens. Next up is Wolves versus Sheffield United. It's the Morgan Gibbs White derby, but following this, Morgan Gibbs White cannot play for Sheffield United, which I think is a really big blow for Sheffield United and really could be the difference maker in this game. Wolves won't have a full squad though. They've got players going to AFCON and have obviously got players that are injured too. So I think it is pretty close, but however, what I have seen with Wolves is this resilience about them, which I am really impressed with this season, and I think it will show against Sheffield United. I won't be surprised if this game is a very low scoring game. I'm going to go for a narrow 1-0 win to Wolves. FIFA, it's also going 1-0 towards, but after extra time. Last game to predict is Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal. Now, Nottingham Forest would be dreaming that they could repeat the fortunes of the 2017-18 season when they beat Arsenal by 4-2. I don't think it will be quite the same game. I think Arsenal are not in much turmoil as they were back then. So I think with this game, despite Arsenal having their players out with AFCON, including the likes of Aubameyang, Pepe, I think Arsenal will still be okay. So as a prediction, I think Arsenal will be comfortable. I'm going to go for 2-0 away into Arsenal. FIFA is going to agree with me as well. So these are all of my predictions involving a championship side. On the left hand side of the screen are my other FA Cup predictions that do not involve a championship side. Also, make sure you get those predictions in the comments down below. But remember, guys, this is just for a little bit of fun. There'll be no inkling into Let's Football Prediction League. But that'll wrap it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please do give the video a like. It does tremendously up the channel. Please do hit the red subscribe button if you've not done so, as we try and push to 1,000 subscribers. And please do share the channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very soon. Take care, everyone.